Hello, lovelies. It's Thursday, March the 5th, 2026, and spring is returning in Florida. Feels good. The sun is out again. And just going on a walk yesterday, you can smell the flowers, hear the birds, and the blue sky is so beautiful. Just noticing how that feels. And of course, this is happening in most places in the Northern Hemisphere right now. In the past, living in the UK, being born in the UK and growing up there, this was always an amazing time for me. I absolutely loved it when the light was returning and the joy, the hope around how this year was going to be. My life really changed back in 1995 when I gave birth to my son. And it took me through a whole process of transformation that is key to this time of year for me and also key for using the dream spell process because whenever we're in a white, I'm in my white. And whenever we're in a blue, we are in my blue. And this is a process that I've been using in a very expanded version since 2020 when everything changed hugely on the world stage. And having more time out of the regular patterns, which is, really key as to why they were created at that time. But also to remember that nothing is outside of the cosmic plan either. So everything happens for a reason, for a season. This is what I absolutely know to be true as an alchemist. And having looked at cosmic patterns with cosmology, the Zolkin, the dream spell, for 15 years now, and astrology for 15 years now, and people's patterns for 30 years now. And I have no doubt about these processes. Is it challenging? Yes. Is it difficult at times? Very, even though I have these tools. And if it wasn't difficult and it wasn't challenging emotionally, I would be worried actually about who am I as a human being. Because I know when people aren't feeling things, when they're avoiding things, when they are bringing up some spiritual framework, when there's some really terrible, inhumane events happening with people, by people, there's something being suppressed. And often, with good reason that this is how we're designed as human beings to survive. My passion is about helping people to thrive and go beyond their survival mechanisms and really understanding how the human body works and using ancient transformational tools to create a whole different experience at this time, at this juncture of human evolution. And there is so much deception and control template playing out now because of people's shadow patterns and control templates. And this is all part of the denial process, of course. Today is White Galactic Worldbridger Day, and it's the 8th day of the 13-day process of Blue Storm. Blue Storm is my wave spell, and my Mayan day is tomorrow. Today is my grandfather's Mayan day on my patriarchal side, a Gemini. I didn't know him very well or for very long because he died when I was very young. Yesterday was Red Resonant Serpent. It was a portal day of Akashic record. So that would be March the 4th. And I had the pleasure of working with a lovely lady who is totally focused on transformation right now and brave enough to look at these emotional storylines in her life. And it was an amazing day after doing the tapping and transformation, because whenever I work with somebody, I'm working with me. And one of my biggest experiences with my mother, Red Resonant Serpent, is really about what's resonating in our nervous system on a healing template, on a rewiring template. And it was very, very difficult to do this with my mum because she would not feel. Now, she was also a Gemini. She had lots of Gemini and was very identified with her mind. Rising in Taurus, could be very stubborn about her mindsets, and indeed was. And this helped her to live a long life, which, if you look at her pattern and her history, was really against the odds because she nearly died when she was 9 years old because of trauma in her patriarchal line with her patriarchal grandmother who committed suicide and created a whole trauma event for her. So this is how we come to understand where we have arrived today as human beings. People who don't know anything about psychology, don't know anything about how they work, their biology, how their psychology works, how their human being framework works as a philosopher's stone, don't understand that, and will therefore live a life at that level of understanding and being. And that's a tough journey right now. Very, very tough. Because lots of things are happening on the planet to wake people up and understand that the Western medical model has nothing to do with health and everything to do with managing being unconscious and keeping people in a framework of codependency around the very first principle of being an alchemist is to know thyself. So step one in changing the way that we live on a personal level is, first of all, start changing your language and your perception and focus on I. Often people have lots of affirmations. They'll buy signs, plaques, things that they put on their mirrors in their home. And it's all about you. And just really grasp the power of that. Whenever we are talking about you and we're looking at a mirror that says you, this is about somebody else. Just look at the spell that's cast. We don't want to be looking at a sign that says you. Try it out. Create signs and affirmations that focus on I. I am. Notice when I don't do that. This is so key because we're programmed to sacrifice ourselves in the game plan, in the template that is the power imbalance. I'm making this in Sun in Pisces, the moon is in Libra, waning moon at 10 degrees. And this is all about the mask. This is all about the people pleasing. This is all about, well, I have to pretend to be something else in order to survive, in order to live, in order to be under the radar, in order to be able to have a relationship with people who have very low consciousness and who have very disempowering ways of relating to me and others. So, in itself, it's a huge shift. This process, this 13-day process, is massive. We are focusing on an area now with the full moon in Virgo, the lunar eclipse that we've just had. What happened to you? What came to light? What was the reality check that showed up to change your destiny at this time? Again, once you start to map your patterns, and often people don't want to do this, especially at the beginning, because it's tough to start swimming upstream. It's tough to focus on something that you've been wired to not focus on. Your emotional mind does not want to keep focusing on the negative. The whole society is focused on positive thinking, positive affirmations. It's a lie. It's an avoidance. It is what it is. And in order for us to begin this journey, we have to be ready to be courageous and feel the shadow, the negative, the part of us that's repressed, because everybody in our initiating circle has told us we cannot be authentic because they could not be authentic because of their life journey, because of all the ancestors that are in here, all the ancestors, all the patterning, all the DNA, all the life experience. And if we don't start to rewire that, we live it. It becomes our biography, and our biography becomes our biology. And we believe the gaslighting. We believe there's something wrong with us because instead of the people around us hearing our truth, they will denounce us. They will betray us. They will say there's something wrong with us rather than hear the message, because their shadow story is so huge. So huge. This is a key point right now. We have 15 days before the equinox. The red serpent process in the blue castle begins on the 24th of March. It's going to be supercharged. Remember that we have 10 Akashic record days coming in straight away, 10 portal days, 10 life experiences that we're going to go through at that point, depending on where we are on our transformational journey. Things are hotting up. Everything is coming together in the cauldron of transformation now. At the moment, we're in the white, we're in refinement, we're still looking at finding the truth. In this 13-day process of transformation in the white of Blue Storm, all our Plutonian patterns are coming up. And I have been having some new learning about this. And as always, it always comes in at the perfect time when we're ready to receive it. And it gives such clarity around our personal story. Generationally, my generation, born in 1965, around those times in the 60s, has Pluto in Virgo. And Uranus also in Virgo in close proximity. Now, that will change according to the individual. It'll be in different houses, it'll bring up different things. And this can be so healing in itself to think, wow, that part of me that really believed I was stuck, there was something wrong with me. How on earth do I get out of this pattern? Again, when we start to do this work, we are so full of shadow story, so full of doubt, so lacking confidence on a deep level, even though we may have developed a mask where we appear strong, where we appear confident, where we are playing out a role, which is our rising sign. Other people have their own perception of us and can often be shocked when we tell the truth about our journey and who we are and how we feel about ourselves. Remember, each person is having their own process. They cannot see the real us. They can only see their version of us, as can we with them. Using the Zolkin framework is unique. Each person does it in their own way. That's what it was designed for. Following the cosmic cookie trail as to where I am is different to where you are. There's no hierarchy. It expands our conscious awareness. It expands our intuition. It expands that ancestor that is in there. And the more that we heal, the more this ancestor can guide us with the magic, with the wisdom. And it really is that process. Unless we heal and we transform and we rewire, we will not be able to embody more light. It's not an intellectual process, it's a feeling process. As we feel, as we heal, as we come into our center, this is what Blue Storm is about. It's a planetary evolutionary code. We evolve. We hold more light. We align. And the first step is being able to feel. This is why having the tool of emotional freedom technique to use every day helps us to birth our authentic self. Everything is turned on its head. Everything changes. We personally get to have a different experience because of that. We're in a giant mystery school. And often, when we are in huge cauldron experiences, this is very difficult to stay in our center. And often we have to come out of our center in order to go back in. We have to swing out and revisit these stories. And we will. I can honestly say that now with full confidence that we will revisit. People don't want to hear that, but it's how the universe works. So the more that you become an expert on your patterns, when things happen to you, and then align them with understanding how the universe works and how astrology shows you why that happened at that time to you. Not because you did anything wrong, not because anyone else did anything wrong either. And again, this is not excusing abusive behavior, it just is what it is. Most human beings are full of trauma, full of shadow at this point on planet Earth, and they're not healing, and they're not very evolved, and they don't have consciousness. And most people who have that, it's just an intellectual thing. It's not actually a living, breathing, embodied thing. And remember, this is what this cycle is about: 260 days of embodiment before we go into Virgo, which is in September. So, what's happening to us now is really giving us a heads up, reality check when we go into the next cycle in Virgo, and that will be in the lunar moon. At the moment, we're in the galactic moon, and we are in the last day of it tomorrow, I believe. We're on day 27 today. So when we are in galactic moon 28-day cycle, we're really focusing on integrating wherever we've been inauthentic. At the moment, we've got Mercury retrograde. We're going back over old ground around addictions, around why we use addictions to avoid deep feelings, boundary issues, especially if you're an empath, how to create good, healthy boundaries. We're going over old ground around how we've reframed things. So, for example, making ourselves fit into a template that was designed to enslave us, to use us up, has no value for us, is so dishonest, is so corrupt. And part of us is having to turn ourselves way down in order to be in that role. And remembering that we do have to dip into these things so that we can revisit. The more that we have done corporate, the more that we have done patterns of times in our life when we've really sacrificed ourselves in order to go through the boot camp of understanding what that means, then we're going to have to create situations. The universe will create situations where we go and revisit and rewire and see where we are. See where I am at that moment in time. Okay, what am I still doing to cope? What am I still doing that's inauthentic? And often the rage that we feel at that point of how unfair it is. And so our mind has a template around what is fair and what is not fair. And the truth is, most things in the corporate, it is what it is. It's not going to be fair. It's not going to be evens, that we put in a certain amount of energy and we are matched by that energy. It isn't going to happen. And if you look in history, so again, if you look at the slave trade that goes back thousands and thousands of years, the only way that people become billionaires is to use this slave format template, to not care about what they do to other beings and planet Earth to get there. Just look at the history and feel it, because each one of us has had many lifetimes playing out these dynamics to understand what this means. And it doesn't have to be this way. This is all interlaced with the web of the shadow. As we heal the shadow, we realize once again the truth. We've often been tricked. Look at the story of Pinocchio, tricked into a system. How many times has that happened for you? When has it happened? These are key cycles in your life. Knowing your code as a warrior, if you are watching this video as a warrior, as a truth teller, as a Heyoka being. This is what Blue Storm represents. Your energy is so powerful that when you show up, you bring that to the table. It does not matter what words you say. You bring that energy to the table. You cannot hide your light. There is no escaping it. Doesn't mean that you have to sacrifice yourself. And learning how to work with that Libra energy in relationship, in healing the heart, in being the diplomats. Remember, as we heal, we let go of the rage and we come into a strong, centered place of resonance. We cannot skip this step. We're here to understand this process. So the next gateway will be the 20th, with the sun in Aries and many more planets at that time aligning. Are you ready for your quest this year? Remember, this is the start of a long journey, a new pattern. This isn't about building a house of cards. If you do that, it will fall apart. This is about you and I becoming hugely powerful in the most balanced way from within, so that we have strength and conviction to create this long journey, this long lasting journey. Now, we don't want to be setting off, rushing around with that youthful Aries. We want to bring that wisdom to the table. Now is the time for the initiate to start to hone their pathway and use everything that is happening now that seems to be the problem, is knowing that this is the solution. Get your toolkit together. Know thyself. Remember, remember who we are. And do whatever it takes to learn whatever we need right now. But it starts with the healing. It starts with the rewire. The next 52-day process begins on the 24th of March. I have a process for women starting at that time. If you want to join, please contact me. I only have the capacity to do a small group of women because of the depth of the work. You are another me. I have a webinar on the 20th of March, and I will be posting details about that. Time to transform and be the goddess. Lots of love.